Hey all, welcome to my channel. I hope you all are having a good day. If you're new here coming for the first time and want to know more about me or this channel, look out for the introduction video above. And if you have been here before, thank you for visiting again. Let's get right into today's topic. So the topic for today is day in the life of a product manager. So product manager is quite a fancy career. It pays well, that's what I've heard. I'm not sure about the pay grade, but yeah, it's definitely a good career to pursue. And since you've stumbled upon this video, you've clicked on this video, possibilities are either you are already a PM at any level and you just want to see am I missing out on anything, or you are an aspiring PM. Maybe you're just fresh out of your college and you want to see what do product managers actually do, or you are already in the tech industry and you want to see you want to make a shift to product management from some other department, like maybe you're an engineer or a designer, sales, marketing, whatever. Either ways, I think this video is going to be helpful for you, so keep watching until the end. And I am currently a senior product manager. I actually made a career switch from a software tester to product management 8 years ago, and I have to admit I'm really enjoying all the learnings that I've had. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, so my hope is whatever learnings I've had till now, I'm able to share it with you, and even forward whatever new things I learn, I'm able to share it with you. So definitely keep watching this video and do like and subscribe if you're interested in this sort of content. For today's video, I'm going to divide the video into what I do on a daily basis, what I do bi-weekly basis, like things I do every 2 weeks, and then on a monthly basis and a quarterly basis, and then towards the end I'm going to show a timeline overview so that you can connect all the dots and be it's sort of a summary of the entire video. So keep watching. Let's see what I do on a daily basis. Alright, what do I do on a daily basis? So every day I divide my daily schedule into 3 parts. Reading emails, second is communication or collaboration with the team members, and then third, which is like 60-70% of my daily time, goes into work, like the actual work. First 2, emails and meetings, those are both communication methods obviously. One is verbal and one is non-verbal. For this, I do want to say, like, communication is a very basic skill that every PM needs to excel at. That's as simple as that. Every PM needs to be very proficient in communication. But why is that? You would have seen videos. What are the skills needed for a PM? So communication is going to be on the top of the list. Reason being, as a product manager, you are responsible for the product. So what does that mean? When I say you're responsible for a product managers needs to define and should know who are they building the product for, like who are the end users, what problem is this product solving that other products out in the market is not able to solve, how are you going to build that product, how is it going to get in the hand of customers. So if you see, that's like the whole product life cycle. PM is at the center of it. They're not doing all of the work, but they are making sure that all of this work is being done by relevant people within the organization. That is why communication is the key, because in order to make sure whatever great product idea that you have that actually gets built, you need to work collaboratively with multiple people within the organization. And that's why a lot of people within the organization, they rely on PMs for information. If they rely on PMs, they are either going to reach out to the PMs via emails, which is the case most of the time, or in some cases, with the team that you're working with on a daily basis, you'll have meetings and you may want to address those things. That's why communication is very important. Now let's get into what I do when I say I spend my time on emails and when I spend my time for collaboration. For emails, I usually dedicate like 1.5 hours of my daily routine for emails. Now obviously that will depend on your inbox size. If you've just got 2 emails, you don't want to sit on them for like 1 hour, right? So just because of the amount of emails that I get and I need to respond to, that's how much time it takes. But the point here is that every day, regardless of whatever your work schedule is, even if you're very busy, PMs need to make sure that they are setting some time apart to be able to read through the emails that they've got that day and be able to respond to them. So as a rule of thumb, everyone, it's not just PM, everyone should respond to the emails or get back to the other person within 24 hours if you're working. If you're not working, obviously you will have your out of office etc. set. But if you're working within 24 hours, you should get back to that person. If for some reason you are really busy and you cannot get to that person within 24 hours, let them know that I'll reach out to you, I'll get back to you in like 2 days, 3 3 days, whatever, but you need to communicate that. That's why I just keep repeating, communication is a very core skill needed for PMs. So, and spending time on the emails is very important. So when I say spending time, it doesn't just mean you are, scanning your inbox and you've read it and I'm done. No. So what you need to do is respond to the people there and then for whatever responses you have, because sometimes even responding to the other person, you might have to do a little research, look for a couple of things and then respond back. That is what you need to do. That's why it takes so much time. Or maybe out of that email, you're going to add it to your to-do list for this week or next week or whatever. But that communication needs to happen. It needs to be very, precise. And if at all you're able to do this every day without fail, it's going to be very easy for you to be able to manage your workload. I mean, I cannot imagine my inbox, having 1,000 unread emails. I cannot do it. I don't know. It's just a personality thing or whatever thing I've developed over time. But make sure you've read all the emails and you've actioned on them, and it's going to help you manage your day and your job. It's going to be very easy. So that's definitely one thing that I would highly recommend PMs doing. Second thing in your daily basis is meetings or collaboration. So as I was earlier explaining, like PMs, they are responsible for the whole product life cycle. So PMs, they are ideating, they have a great idea, they have put in requirements, but engineering team is the one who's going to build that product, like they are going to code that product. So that's why PMs work with the engineers on a daily basis. So most of the organizations nowadays, they follow Agile. So there is a meeting called daily stand-up meeting which happens. So PMs actually are a part of, they need to be part of that daily stand-up meeting every day. Multiple reasons for that. One is, if you're attending that daily stand-up meeting, you are able to track the progress of the work that's happening. Whatever timelines as a PM you have envisioned, is it going in that direction? Secondly, you are available for the team to be able to address any questions that the team might have, because PMs have written down the requirements in the form of user stories for the team, and they need to be available because during implementation, a lot of questions can crop up. So PMs need to be available for the team members to be able to answer them on the go. And thirdly, I think, which is important, if you're working in an organization, I think that level of connect or that collaboration needs to be there, because that's how we can work collaboratively with everyone. So that's why, I think a couple of hours daily stand-up is like 15 minutes, but there might be ad hoc meetings wherein you need to explain something to engineering team, product designers team, or anyone within the team about that requirement. That can be ad hoc basis, but yes, every day that collaboration needs to happen with the team. That's important. Now moving on to the third, which is, as I said, is like the 60 to 70% of your daily working hours goes into doing the actual work. So what does that mean? PMs are not only working in the present, they need to work for the future. So what that means is that your engineering team is working on a feature which you want to build, they are working on it. But what are you doing in the meantime? So in the meantime, you are actually researching for the next feature, or you building the strategy. So let's take, an example where, so there's one feature you are building, and then the next feature that you want to build, but you're not very confident as to what do I exactly want to build. That's where the market research is going to come in picture. So PMs do need to spend a lot of time on research. So when I say research, it's multiple things. First, you need to be able to define your end users or who the customers are, or you need to create those ideal customer profiles, user personas. All of these are sort of similar things. You need to be very clear on who the end users for the product are. Once you know who the end users for the product are, you need to be able to define the problem for them. Like, what is the problem that you're actually solving for those end users, right? Because if you're not solving any problem, your product is going to fail, obviously. So you need to do the research on what problem you are actually solving by either, speaking with the customers directly, by doing surveys. There are several methods in a way you can gather this data. So you need to be able to identify what problem are you solving for the end user. Once you have identified what problem needs solving, that's when you work on building the product strategy and the product roadmap. So that research needs to continue happening. It's not like in one day you're not going to accomplish it. In 1 month you're not going to accomplish it. It's going to take a couple of months. So that needs to be a repetitive activity every day. So that research part is very important for a PM to continuously do and inculcate that habit in their daily routines. So that is the research part. Now, an important thing to note here is, you might have heard of a term that a product or a PM is like this mini CEO of the product. That statement is partially true. I don't believe that it's 100% true, because the organization that you're working on, unless it's your own startup, you are the CEO. But if you're working in some other organization, there are some business objectives, like from the executive team, there is a user persona that they are ideally going after. So you have to follow that direction and build it. It's not like you're going to build your own different, altogether a different user persona. So you have to align your product strategy with the business objectives. That's very important. Unless you feel and you have researched and you have a data to prove that maybe we should go after a different user persona. If you have like a proof of concept to be able to show that this is going to be successful, and that's when you need to pitch it to the business, and that's how you're going to get it done. Otherwise, if you're just getting started or you're new to this, I think following the business directions is going to be helpful for you to be able to grow. And then eventually, as you progress in your career and as you learn and as you do your researches, you definitely can be in a situation wherein you've created a different user persona which the business was not targeting. But at the beginning, I really doubt it's going to be the case. So definitely go with what the business directions are, business objectives are, and build a product strategy that aligns with that. Now that's the research part which the PMs need to do on a daily basis. Secondly, in agile environment, the features go live. There's no release train or there is no release schedule. Features go live as and when they are developed. That's how nature of agile is. You need to be able to keep an eye on the user feedback. So firstly, you need to make sure there is a feedback process, feedback loop created. Like how are you going to collect the feedback from the users and how are you going to be able to action it? So that process needs to be set by you. And once that process is in place, you need to make sure you are listening to that feedback on a daily basis or a regular basis and actioning them. Secondly, when the product is out, you are, listening to user feedback. Simultaneously, you also need to be tracking the product metrics. So what does that mean? When you are building out a product at the beginning, when you are writing down requirements, we usually define something called as a success criteria. So why are you building this product? What are you hoping to get out of this product? Do you want to grow your audience, or your product is more geared towards, it's a SaaS solution, it's more geared towards, generating revenue for the company or for the business. So whatever those metrics are, you need to be able to track them. Make sure, first of all, those tracking mechanisms are in place, and then you need to be able to track them on frequent basis. So now, as I talk through daily and bi-weekly and monthly and quarterly themes, you will notice product metrics come in each of those windows. Reason being, not all product metrics can be tracked daily, and not all product metrics should be tracked on a quarterly basis. So that means, things like subscriptions. You're not going to track the subscriptions on a daily basis. You're going to track the subscriptions on a monthly basis. Whereas things like, how many page views am I getting, or how many ad impressions are being served, those can be tracked on a daily basis. So it really varies on the product to product and how you want to be able to track. But the key point here is you need to divide your metrics in a way which you want to track daily, and then bi-weekly, and then monthly and quarterly and yearly. You need to be able to do that. It is an ongoing process. As strategy is an ongoing process, tracking the product metrics is also an ongoing process. Now, we've discussed strategy, we've discussed metrics, we've discussed, the user feedback. Other important thing, as I said, you were working with the engineering team. In our organization, we use Jira. Even in my previous, we used Jira as a collaboration tool. So whatever collaboration tool that you're using, you need to make sure that is updated. So for the product idea that you have translated them into requirements in the form of user stories. So you as a PM need to make sure those user stories are up to date with the information. Whatever findings you have, you need to make sure that reflects on the Jira board. Because think of it from this perspective that engineering team has not done the research that you've done. So it is PM's responsibility to make sure whatever that you have researched and whatever data points you're collecting from customers, maybe you're figuring out that customers are facing this pain point. You need to be able to translate that into requirements which the engineering team can understand. So you need to be very proficient in that documentation portion of it, being able to translate those business level requirements into something that engineering team can work on. So the tool that we use is Jira. As I said, your organization could be using something else, but whatever you're using, you need to make sure all of this is tracked somewhere and the team is able to look at that and refer to that and make sense of whatever you are envisioning for them. So these are a couple of things that I do on a daily basis. Now, if you've stayed so far and you have liked what I just said and you can relate to my experience, so definitely do hit like and subscribe. It will help me and this channel grow. Now, moving on to what I do on a bi-weekly basis, which is what I do every 2 weeks. So earlier, as I mentioned, we work with engineering teams very closely. We have daily stand-up meetings with them. There are a couple of other meetings that we have with the engineering team bi-weekly, once in 2 weeks. Things like backlog grooming, or some call it refinement meetings as well. So there are retrospective meetings, there are review meetings, and there are planning meetings. These meetings happen once in 2 weeks because that's how the sprint cycle in some organization, it's 2 weeks. If it's maybe for your organization, the sprint cycle is 4 weeks. So these all meetings will happen once in 4 weeks. But the idea is meetings which happen continuously between, engineering and product and design at, on a sprint to sprint basis. So starting off with the backlog grooming or the refinement meeting, this is where, as I said, you have a product idea, you've, put them in the form of user stories in Jira. Those all user stories reside in something called as product log, which is where, you keep adding your requirement. Maybe you have one requirement that you want to create a registration model, just as an example, for your website. So for that registration model, we are going to call that an epic, and there might be 10 user stories within it, which are actually like the small implementable things that engineering will be working on. So that user stories all reside on a product back. So in the backlog grooming meeting or the refinement meeting, we actually go through that backlog. We discuss it with engineering team. So you've written what is there in the user story. You've written as a end user, what is it, the feature that you want to build, and what benefit that the user is going to get by that feature. So you've written that one liner. Now you want to discuss that with the engineering squad, because engineering squad is the one who's going to implement them. So in the refinement meeting or in the backlog grooming meeting, we go through the backlog, we pick up one user story at a time, and we discuss it. We start off by PM basically starts off by, so PM drives this meeting. Engineers and designers, they are part of the meeting. There is a difference. So for a particular user story, you are going to explain to the engineering team on what this requirement is, what benefit is it going to give to the end user, and then based on that, you're going to further refine it. By refining, I mean engineers are going to add tasks in there. When I'm going to implement it or when I'm going to code it, these are 5-6 things which I'm going to do. And then there will be discussions about what happens if a user clicks here, what happens if this happens. So these discussions are very productive to have within the refinement meeting, because that's how you're going to refine the user stories completely, because everything that needs to be done for that user story to be developed, you need to discuss in that meeting. So that is what a refinement meeting is. I think it's a very good practice to have it very frequently with the team, so that when the sprint start or when the developers have to pick up those user stories for implementation, they are able to pick it up right away. There's no discussion, there's no confusion as to what we need to develop. So it's a really good practice to have it every 2 weeks. The second meeting is planning meeting, which again happens at every 2 weeks. It is where, as I said, for a scenario wherein the sprint cycle is 2 weeks, so it happens at the beginning of the week before the sprint starts, wherein you are planning for what are the items which needs implementing in that sprint. So this is also a PM driven meeting. Engineers and designers are the part of this meeting. So as a PM, you have a vision, like you want to build this product, what is the order that you want to build the features in. So in the planning meeting, that's what gets decided. Like, we need to do these 4 user stories first in this sprint, then rest we can do in next sprint. So as the name suggests, in the planning meeting, we plan out for the work that needs to get done in that particular sprint. So that is the sprint planning meeting. The another meeting which happens every 2 weeks is a sprint review meeting. So review meeting is a meeting that the entire team has, wherein they are demoing the sprint's work to the external stakeholders. So every product should have stakeholders. It's not a choice to make. They should have stakeholders, because it's not like only PM knows what is being developed. Even other people within organizations should know what is being developed, so that they can chime in at the right time. And if there are adjustments you want to make to your development strategy, you can do that. Maybe they have a different thought process. You did not think about it earlier. So it's important that you're demoing the product's progress to the stakeholders, and that's what happens in the sprint review meeting. This is the responsibility of a PM again. So PMs are the ones who are working with the whole organizations, and they are the ones who have to invite the stakeholders to these meetings. So it is a PM driven meeting. Engineers are going to demo their work, but PM needs to make sure that stakeholders are invited, stakeholders are listening, stakeholders are providing the feedback. That is what the end goal of this meeting is. so that everybody is on the same page. Everybody is following the progress of this product feature. So that's the sprint review meeting. Apart from that, there's a retrospective meeting. So that is actually led by Scrum Master. Some organizations don't have a Scrum Master, some have, but it's not PM's responsibility primarily. If PM wants to do it, they can do it. If a team agrees that PM should do it, PM can do it. There's no hard and fast rule, but it shouldn't ideally be led by a PM. It could be engineers leading it, it could be designers leading it, anyone in the team could lead it if Scrum Master is not there. But a retrospective meeting is wherein for those 2 weeks we basically retrospect. As the name is saying, we look back as a team and discuss what went well in that sprint, what didn't go well in the sprint. So this should happen frequently because every person, they are working individually. You have your own thought process as a PM, engineers have their own thought process, designers have their own thought process. So everybody gets in that meeting, and if there are things which are not working for everyone, they discuss it. This is not going well, maybe we should change this process, or maybe we should do this better. So we retrospect on what has been done in the past 2 sprints, and we try to make improvements to it. So that's what happens in the sprint retrospectives. Now these are like the squad level meetings which happen. Apart from that, what I also do on bi-weekly basis or every 2 weeks is, again, metrics. As I said, there are a couple of metrics I check on a bi-weekly basis, so you need to make sure you are doing that. Apart from that, I meet one-on-one with the engineering manager also on a bi-weekly basis, because you are a product person who has the knowledge about users. Engineering managers are experts in the development area, so you both need to be in sync to make sure that developers are working on the right things. So that one-on-one connect is very important, because technically they are going to be able to guide you and the team on how it needs to be developed. So the distinction between a PM and a EM is, so PM decides what needs doing and why it needs doing, but how it needs doing, that is EM and the engineering team. So you need to understand that, so that you don't step on each other's toes. PMs don't need to worry about how this is going to implement it. That's where the EM and the engineering team plays the role. So that is one-on-one connect I would definitely have with the engineering manager. Another one-on-one connect that I have is with the product designers. It's important, especially for the products which are user facing, like there is a beautiful UI. So you need to, sync with the product designers also on a frequent basis. If you have a product designer, in some organizations, I think PMs do it. So obviously it will not happen in that case. But if you have like a product designer, UX, UI designer specifically dedicated, you need to be, sync with them on a one-on-one level, so that whatever you are envisioning for your product, they are able to build prototypes for it, because that's how it's going to be built. You need to make sure that connect is there. There's one meeting which we have bi-weekly, wherein engineering and product and design, so I call this a trio. So this trio need to meet on a frequent basis, because all of us are working together in the same team. So this trio is the one who decides. So what we basically do is we go through the backlog and we prioritize. UI can say, from a UI perspective, I think this is going to be a really good feature to build first. Whereas on engineering, they might have their own say. Product can have their own say. So we don't want to work in an organization wherein it's like a product driven. We want to work collaboratively, that's so that everyone has a say on the table. So that's why that trio needs to work very closely, and that's something that I do on a bi-weekly basis as well. Now let's see what I do on a monthly basis. Things that a PM does on a monthly basis. So I'm going to divide this portion into like ones who are experienced PMs, ones who are not so experienced PM and are just starting off. So this one applies mostly to the experienced PMs. So on a monthly basis, when I say experienced PM, reason being because they are involved also in building out the go-to-market strategy for that particular product, for which they have to work very closely with sales and marketing and client success. Whereas a person who is not so experienced and they are primarily only working with the engineering squad and designers, they might not have to do this monthly activity, because whatever other meetings that they've done till now, I think that should suffice. But if you are working with sales and marketing and designing the go-to-market strategy, those are the stakeholders. You need to make sure you are meeting with them on a monthly basis, so that that line of communication is open. What that means is like you are able to update them on the progress of the product feature, like how much is it built, how much is it left from a time perspective. They will not get into too much nitty-gritties, but just discussing the timelines with them is a good idea, so that everybody is on the same page. change. Secondly, when meeting with them, it's good to, because they are, for example, for marketing, they are running marketing campaigns to promote your product. So you as a PM need to make sure that you are providing product messaging to them. So what is it that, when you did your research, how competitors are talking about it, or how you want your product to be marketed outside. So those inputs need to be provided by PM. So that's why it's important to sync with marketing. With sales, I think if it's a direct sell product, so, and if if it's a product wherein sales people are pitching it to the customers, you need to make sure they are up to date on what features are built and they are able to talk through it confidently, because you are not going to be present in those client meetings. In some cases you might be when it's initial days, but in most cases you're not going to be. That's not your job, that's their job. But you need to make sure that you are able to provide all the information that you can as a product manager to the salesperson, so that they can talk confidently about. And then client success, there are some products wherein we might get feedback directly from users, then client success is not going to be involved. But for some products, it might come through client success. So we need to have that channel open so that we can listen in on the customer's feedback directly from them. So again, varies from your role, varies for the product, but in general, this is what I do on a monthly basis to make sure whoever the stakeholders for that product are, they are up to date and are in loop on the product development life cycle. So now let's look into what I do on a quarterly basis. Alright, now what do PMs do on a quarterly basis? What do I do on a quarterly basis? By this time we've discussed every day we are spending time on research. We know that engineers are building out product. We are speaking with stakeholders because we are also meeting with them monthly. So what do I specifically need to do quarterly? So I think there's one important thing that needs to happen on a quarterly basis is reassessing the product strategy. So that's not a one-time thing. You need to be up to date on what's happening with market. Like whatever product strategy you thought 3 months back or 4 months or 6 months back, maybe that's not valid now because the markets have changed, the user needs have changed. So you need to reassess your product strategy on a quarterly basis or at least half-yearly basis, so that you are sure that you are not developing something which users don't want. It is an important step for PMs to do and to be able to grow in this field, that you are doing this as a repeated activity and not doing it just as a one-off, because things change, markets change, needs change. You need to stay on top of it and make sure whatever product you are developing, whatever time that engineering is spending on building that product is worth or not. So that is something that I would definitely recommend doing on a quarterly basis. Now, I think we've discussed daily, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly. Now, if you were to, if I were to provide a whole summary of it, let's look at it from a timeline. This is obviously an imaginary timeline. So say at the beginning of the year, you've done a research and business has told you like there's an opportunity we need to explore. So PMs need to do that research, right? Is there an actual opportunity? Is that user persona which business has defined or which you have defined? Is there a need? Is there a problem that they are facing? You do that research, yes, there is a problem they are facing. You have a great idea which is very different. It's a differentiator for your organization. There is no other product which is solving this particular problem for that user. You've done that research, you've identified that. Now you create your product strategy on what is it that you want to build. You create your roadmap. In Q1, we are going to build this feature. Q2, Q3, Q4. You've built that whole roadmap. Then you start translating those requirements in the form of user stories which engineers can understand. And you work with the product designers to make sure the prototypes or the wireframes are ready. And the development starts. They are working on features. You are doing the research, collecting the user feedback on a daily basis. You're hearing customers, you're including that in your plan, and you're making sure the customers are being heard. You are tracking the metrics, and if there are some real challenges or you see any anomalies in your product metrics, you fix them on the go. So all good. This is like a very perfect scenario. Now every 6 months or every 3 months you're reassessing your strategies. You are keeping up with the news. So it's also a very good practice to maybe follow the newsletters for your competitors, and keep up to date on their press releases as well, on what is it that they are actually building, so that you can keep an eye on the markets, how it's changing. So every 6 months or every 3 months you are reassessing your strategies, and then maybe changing your roadmap based on that, and it's all good. So that's how end to end it's going to look for a particular PM. So if you've liked this content, and if you've not subscribed till now, definitely do that, because in this whole video I've used the term PM. In every organization there are different names for it. There is a product owner, there is an associate product manager, there's a product manager, there is a senior product manager, and then I think after that it's director level and above. This video didn't cover director level and above. It's primarily those 4-5 roles, but there are a little distinction in all of these roles, which different organizations have their own thing, but commonly these are all the PM activities which are done in most of the organizations. In future videos, I'm also going to be talking about the skills and what the exact distinction between each of these roles are. So if you're interested in that sort of content, do definitely click that bell icon as well, so that you can stay up to date on whenever I make such a content. And lastly, before we leave, I do want to say, if there's anything in this entire video which you feel was confusing to you, or you're not able to relate, or maybe I missed, definitely let me know via the comments section, so that I can spend some time and make a video on that particular topic which I might have majorly missed or overlooked. But apart from that, I think I have shared whatever I do on frequent basis, and I hope it helps you while you are transitioning or while you're already in this role. So thank you so much for staying on. Have a good day. Bye bye.